Opinions stated by various contributors to the Money and Business Show and related programs are not to be considered as endorsed by Radio Shalom, its employees. Visitors to this program are urged to use their own discernment to draw their own conclusions. Please read your prospectus and consult with your own investment advisor.
Live from the studios of Radio Shalom, 1650 AM in Montreal, Canada, the city of Joie de Vivre, the world capital of culinary variety, and the home of the Montreal Canadiens. This is the Money and Business Show with your host, Samuel Ezerzer. Every week, Samuel and his guests discuss money, investments, financial services, and the world economy. Over the next hour, you can have your questions about business and personal finances answered. So call 514-738-4100 extension 200 to speak with Samuel and his guests. And now, here is the host of the Money and Business Show, Samuel Ezerzer.
Money, and business. Recently, the U.S. Federal Reserve was hacked and compromised the privacy data over 4,000 U.S. bank executives. This is a serious breach of privacy where information leakage, including identity theft, can disrupt the lives of many. Financial institutions are particularly vulnerable to these online security threats, ranging from the U.S. Federal Reserve to banks taking customer deposits to investment banks with trillions of customer assets at their disposal. On our show today, we will focus on the types of impact of various online security threats to customers of financial institutions. My name is Samuel Ezerzer, your host for the Money and Business Show on Radio Shalom, CJRS 1650 AM. Thank you for tuning in live with our business studios headquarters in Montreal, the financial capital, and the home of the greatest hockey team, the Montreal Canadiens. We have another great show for you today, and as always, you can call if you have any questions, comments, or criticism on today's topic. Please call us directly at 514-738-4100 extension 200, or you can email me at the moneyandbusinessshow@gmail.com if you have any inquiries. You can also visit our website at www.radio-shalom.ca. All our shows are archived there. Today's topic will be online security threats for customers of financial institutions, banks, and buyers beware. And this is a subject that it's very important to all of us. I mean, it happened to my father. He has an account at a financial institution. And all of a sudden, he calls us. He says, hey, it's been a few months that he hasn't had any transfers of money from his RIF account to his bank. So we made an investigation. We called up the institution and said, hey, what's going on here? They found out that the money was going to another institution in Ontario. So this is the type of show we're going to be talking about. We're going to talk about, understanding, how these hackers hack financial institutions.
Thank you, Richard Dent. Here with Dick Cass and Ozzie Newsome and Commissioner Goodell. It's time for the presentation of the Vince Lombardi Trophy.
Okay, Baltimore fans, this is what you're waiting for. 5 straight playoff appearances, and now you reach the mountaintop. Steve, Coach Harbaugh, Ozzie, Dick, congratulations on a great championship. The Ravens are world champions.
That was the Baltimore Ravens as the NFL champions. 34-31 victory over San Francisco. If anybody saw that, it was a great game. Not only that, but there was a power outage at the Super Bowl. I couldn't believe it. It was the biggest sporting event in the world, and a power outage goes out for about a half an hour on Sunday, interrupting otherwise an electric back and forth game that ended with Joe Flacco and the Baltimore Ravens as NFL champions thanks to 34-31 victory over San Francisco. By the way, now in Las Vegas, they're already putting wagers that but the Baltimore Ravens are going to win the Super Bowl champions next year. They have a 14-1 odd. Now, this is football. Anything can happen. So, I don't know if you believe it or not. It's a sport. It was a lot of fun, a lot of people, great game, and that's what it is. By the way, Beyonce was amazing. I still prefer her over Madonna last year. She put a great performance, and that's what it was, just a great performance. Now, let's introduce our next guest. Jack Bensimon. He's Managing Director of Black Swan Diagnostics, an independent securities regulatory compliance consulting firm located in Toronto's Bay Street core. He has worked in the securities industry for over 19 years, mainly acting as a chief compliance officer for banks, investment banking, and counseling firms, trust companies, and broker-dealers. He has testified as expert anti-money laundering witness in federal court for a major banking litigation case. He's a graduate of the University of Toronto, the Wharton School, University of Pennsylvania. Jack has a Master of Law in Business from the University of Toronto, Faculty Law. Jack also has an LLM in Securities Law and an LLM in General Stream, both from Osgood Hall Law School. He's the chair of the subcommittee and a board member of the Canadian Technion Society. The Technion Israel Institute of Technology is based in Haifa. He can be reached at jbensimon@rogers.com. How are you, Jack? How you doing?
Good. How are you, Sam? How are things in Montreal?
Oh, they're great. Actually, the weather's getting warmer. I don't know about Toronto. Did you have snow there, by the way?
It's getting warmer, yes, and in fact, it's a bit of a change of weather because I just came back from a business trip in Israel.
Yeah, that's right. I understand you recently came back from Israel. How did that go?
Well, the trip was with Technion Canada. As you know, I'm heavily involved with Technion, and our group supports the Technion Israel Institute of Technology, which is based in Haifa. We were 14 in all, and it was simply an outstanding trip. It would span about 7 days in Haifa, Tel Aviv, and of course Jerusalem. Truly amazing when you look at Technion's contribution to Israel's high-tech economy, and perhaps most importantly to mankind. Just as an example, there's a paraplegic PhD in mechanical engineering at Technion. He's a professor, and he's developed a device called ReWalk. And this ReWalk device allows paraplegics to walk again, if you can believe it, through the device allowing signals and brain waves to be strengthened and formed between the ligaments, spine, and the brain. It's really amazing to watch. In fact, you can experience this ReWalk device on YouTube under a search called ReWalk, R-E-W-A-L-K. This is just one of the many examples for which Technion Innovations and Technion-founded companies, for that matter, are changing the world one invention at a time.
By the way, you were there for about a couple of weeks, but is that right? And you must have been in Israel during the elections, right?
Well, we were there for a week. We were there for the week of January 20th.
Okay.
And January 22nd, as you know, was with the Israeli elections. And it's an interesting experience being in Israel during the election because there's a certain buzz, as you can imagine, just like in the U.S. and Canada, when people are voting for their next government. And of course, the big question was the Netanyahu government going to be a majority or a minority government? And I think it was pretty clear from when we were there and talking to people, even just at the coffee shops, that they were going to expect the Netanyahu government to have minority government. So, you know, the typical concerns on Israelis' mind, right? Things like the security, obviously, that's a big issue, physical security, and probably most importantly, even from talking to Arabs in that part of the world, particularly in Jerusalem, which is, Israel's right to exist. And that's probably top of mind for almost any Israeli in terms of making sure or ensuring that the peace process is going to make any kind of progress. Is that fundamental, international right, that sovereignty right, which is their right to exist. And that still seems to be a problem that's pervasive after many, many years in this, what probably is the most complicated and convoluted conflict that we're seeing.
And that was the main issue for Israeli voters, was security.
Well, security has always been a main issue. The question is how that security takes shape. And it's a very expensive proposition. I think the last figure was something like 12 to 14% of Israeli GDP is earmarked towards security. And it's an enormous cost to take on, and it has a number of economic implications. But they don't have much of a choice in that area. I mean, all of the, pretty much, if you look at Israel and how strategically located it is in the Middle East, all of their neighboring countries pretty much are enemy countries. And so, if you look at it geopolitically, they don't have much of a choice in terms of making sure that those borders are protected and making sure that, the pathways are protected in terms of coming and going to and from certain countries. So, of course, that's a reverberating issue among the Israeli population.
By the way, Jack, do you expect to be back in Israel anytime soon? Perhaps, for recreational or vacation purposes, going to the Technion all the time?
Well, recently, that's right. I haven't.
I mean, every time I talk to you, Jack, it's like, okay, I just came back from the Technion.
Unfortunately, I haven't had the privilege or opportunity to spend time in Israel recreationally for vacation. I'd love to just spend a few weeks there, but these Technion trips are very important. They're at least once a year. They could be twice a year because of the Board of Governor meeting in June. And so I'd love to spend a few weeks there. I have family there, obviously, and I'd like to see more parts of Israel. So for now, I'm content with the three cities that I've been exposed to, and it's just been an incredible experience.
Fantastic. Jack, go ahead. You can introduce our next guest.
Thank you, Sam. So our guest today on our topic of online security, threats to customers of financial institutions, is Adam Sculthorpe. Adam is a visionary leader in the IT security world with a career spanning more than 25 years. Adam's first experiences in security was with Royal Anglian Regiment of the British Army as a signal specialist, and then went on to build an IT career. In the late 1990s, Adam became the sole UK distributor of the first PC firewall developed by Signal 9 Solutions in Canada, Ontario, and then went on to work for TNT Worldwide as their first security specialist. He then went on to work for Internet Security Systems, otherwise known as ISS, as a senior security consultant providing services to numerous financial, government, military, and corporate clients, including Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, Citibank, and the London Stock Exchange. After leaving ISS, Adam worked at UBS Investment Bank before relocating to Canada. In 2004, he pioneered click fraud detection software and services solutions, and his research and client stories were featured in The New Scientist, The New York Times, The Registrar, and on national TV and radio. Adam is currently founder of a startup called BitVelocity, where he is developing cloud-based web hosting solutions that improve search ranking. Adam is also developing privacy testing solutions and internet encryption software. Please welcome Adam Sculthorpe. Adam, how you doing?
Good, and it's all true.
I understand, Adam, that you've been working recently on some privacy initiatives, and obviously this is related to your expertise in online security. Tell us a bit about what you're up to with this privacytesting.com, your most recent initiative.
Well, yeah, at privacytesting.com, I'm commercializing essentially what I've learned and what I've done for clients in the past 10, 15 years. And so what I'm doing is commercializing some systems and processes I've developed for my own business and those clients. And it's really designed to detect privacy breaches, data theft, leaks, and intrusion in progress. Most businesses are reasonably good at compliance, but they're very bad at identifying data theft and misuse of data. Mm-hmm. So it's a gap, I'm focused on closing, mm-hmm. and it's a significant gap. We've seen examples of it today, for example. Mm-hmm. So I'm also, as part of that project, I'm developing some privacy tools for consumers that will positively let them know when their data has been compromised and how it happened. And ironically, I developed these tools and systems and processes for myself, and I've been using them for almost 10 years, and I'd never really thought of sort of letting them out of the bag and exposing them and letting other people use them. So I'm in the process of doing that, because I think more than ever with social media and these big hacks and privacy breaches, there's a real demand for it. So
this whole year of privacy, there's not a single week that goes by without some news story about some institution being hacked where privacy data is compromised. Have there been any recent stories that concern you and you can share with us?
So the big one today that I just read about in the BBC News is the Federal Reserve hack, and it's a big story, and the personal information of around 4,000 executives has been leaked. And the other story, again, that's constantly repeating over the past few weeks, is that China is being accused of hacking a number of media outlets and government sites, and has been for some time now over the past few months. So these are big stories, and we hear them all the time. Big financial institutions. Twitter was hacked last week, and they revealed 250,000 accounts, and it's just ongoing.
So the U.S. Federal Reserve story, I want to touch on that very quickly. What's the worst damage these hackers can do to this all-important institution, such as the U.S. Federal Reserve?
Well, the big issue with the Federal Reserve is that it holds a lot of sensitive financial information of third parties. And the real issue there is if that data is compromised and leaked, the implications are much broader and far-reaching, you know, for a number of financial institutions and businesses. So, you know, it's a real issue that just doesn't affect the Federal Reserve alone. It can affect, you know, dozens or hundreds of corporations and financial institutions.
Okay, thanks, Adam. Back to you, Sam, in Montreal. Take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Jack, and thank you, Adam. Again, my name is Samuel Ezerzer from the Money Biz Show on Radio Shalom CJRS 1650 AM in Montreal. Today's topic is online security threats for customers of financial institution buyers. Beware, of course. We're with Jack Bensimon and Adam Sculthorpe. Again, we'll be right back in 2 minutes.